I'm about ready to cut my hair off. This is driving me crazy. How many mornings I've spent usually sitting in the sunlight. It's easier to see. Looking for split ends. My hair gets this long. Good morning, everybody. I'm sorry. Okay, so sorry about the bad lighting. What you just saw is just an example, a small example of how I have whiled away hours sometimes throughout my life. Um, the This particular obsession is called Trichotilimania, and without really being conscious of it, I tend to pull my hair out, particularly along the part here, because I've spent so much time doing this, running my fingers through my hair. It's an obsession with feeling of the hair on my fingertips, or something. I don't know. When I was a child, I think it was a soothing mechanism. I did it without even knowing I was doing it. Sometimes I still catch myself doing it. Before I realized it as a teenager, um, I would end up with piles. Well, I'd say it hasn't happened as an adult either, but the first time I realized it as a teenager, I would wind up with piles of hair on my bed, at my side, or on the floor next to the chair wherever I was sitting. Um, just from doing that or this. And always this way too. I don't often do this. Okay, so anyway, uh, morning, morning. I am really about ready to cut it off. I don't know if anybody can notice from my last video. I've done some trimming of the ends because as I find myself finding more and more split ends, then I have to go back and even it out. Um, Very frustrating obsession, but one of the main ones I've lived with my whole life. Trichotilimania. Wasn't until about 10 years ago in school that I learned that term. I just knew I was obsessive compulsive. OCD is the term most people are familiar with, but they tend to think of people who turn on and off light switches or have to count everything or um, do certain repetitive rituals for purpose, thinking something bad is going to happen if they don't do them. This is not the type of obsessive compulsive disorder that I have. My disorder involves rhythmic things a lot, aside from the trichotillomania. Um, like I said, I think I developed as a coping mechanism as a child. Um, I find myself clicking my teeth, tapping my fingers. I'll often, do this. And as I do this, because I'm going back, it's another, I don't, hard to explain to someone that doesn't, so you'll understand it. If you've got it, you get it. I also like the light touches. Just um, this is one of my favorite stances when I meditate. I hold my fingers together. I learned in psychology that that's a sign of the um, truth teller. People who are honest and straightforward often do what is called, I can't remember the term for it now, thanks to my Parkinson's, um, formation with their hands anyway. Um, Stipling. Stipling. Um, for me, I like the feeling of my fingers pressing together, so that's why I do it. Sometimes I see how light I can do it, have just barely, barely touching. But I can feel them. And sometimes if you kind of pull away and you're not really touching, you can still feel them touching because you're feeling the molecules are pulsing each other. Okay, so that's another thing I like to do. Um, on surfaces, I like to do this, the feeling of that on my fingertips is calming. I can do that for hours. It's hard to just think off the top of my head all the strange things I do. I mentioned the tapping, my teeth tapping. Probably part of the reason most of my teeth have fallen apart because um, I'll get a rhythm in my head and I'll just find myself touching my teeth together to a certain rhythm, and it's like I find myself not being able to stop until it ends just right, but it never really seems to end just right. Like I've got to do it again, and again, until something else gets my attention. Um, uh, I also have a problem with just clenching my teeth. Um, Not necessarily rhythmic, but I focus on the tension, and then I'm trying not to focus on it, but then I can't help but focus on it, and then I try to stop, and then I'll find myself doing it again. That may have something to do with transmandibular joint disorder, which I also live with. We'll have that on another video. With repetition, that words. I love words. My daughter is numbers. Although I do have the same numbers, I love duplicate numbers. Like for example, the clock. I see 111, 222, 333, 444, 555. One day I saw every one of those in succession, and then I got really sad because I knew there wasn't going to be a 666. Silly, I know. But I see a name. For example, Pete Buttigieg is running for president. When I first learned how to say his name, I had to say it again and again and again and again and again and again and again until I made sure I had it right. My recent medication, carbidopa levodopa, for my Parkinson's, when I first got that, it was carbidopa levodopa, carbidopa levodopa, carbidopa levodopa. To make sure that I got it right, I had to know how to say it perfectly. And so I found myself saying it for days on end, repetitively. Um, a little crazy, but once you got it, you got it. Um, Billboards. I'll be driving down the road and I'll see a billboard and I'll um, read the billboard, and 5 miles down the road, I'm still reading that billboard in my head over and over and over until something else grabs my attention to that extent that I'm thinking about it over and over and over. That's one of the main ways that OCD runs my life, because there's always one thing or another that I'm totally focused on. While 50 million other things are semi-focused or working in the background on autopilot. Hard for me to just think of a lot of other things. If I do, I'll come up with another video on OCD. In the meantime, how about you guys give me some comments below? Tell me what some of your obsessions are, weird or not. And if you suffer from obsessive compulsive disorder, it would be fun to kind of get a commentary going and share a little bit of what we all go through, I guess. Maybe. God bless everybody. Have a good day. Sorry for my night attire. Another time.